the walls. We're breaking free. Yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression. It's out for liberty. Breaking free. Yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts. We're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. They're trying to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. We're claiming our land.
I hate this show. Oh my goodness.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Are You Smarter Than a Politician? This is your gateway drug to liberty. Tonight, we're asking a simple question. What does government really cost you? Not just taxes, your money, your privacy, your choices, and your future. Tonight, three political commentators take on the $40 trillion tab the government's running and the hidden costs of government power. So get ready, because tonight, you decide who is smarter than a politician. Joining us for the, 100th time, he's a two-time winner, so that's not a very good average, but he's a good friend of mine, Marcus Matthews. He's the host of the Black Powder Podcast. That's on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on all the channels, and you can follow him on X at Black Powder Pod. How are you tonight, Marcus?
I'm doing swell. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to great competition with these two gentlemen. And I want to say hello to everybody in the chat and thank you for the points. I really look forward to a great discussion tonight. Thank you.
Your mic's a little quiet again, but I don't do the other thing that you did backstage and blew out all of our ears. Don't do that thing again. 100%. New to the show, these guys know each other, so this is going to make for a great contest. First off, James Harrigan. He's one of the hosts of the Words and Numbers podcast. You can find that at wordsandnumbers.org. And he's the co-author of Cooperation and Coercion, How Busybodies Became Busy Bullies, and what that means for economics and politics. You can follow him on X at James Harrigan. How are you tonight, James?
As James R. Harrigan says so on the screen right there. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me. How you doing?
Doing really well. Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself to the crowd and tell us what you've been up to.
Well, I'm a trained political philosopher that got mixed up with economists at some point during my life, which kind of ruined everything. These days, I'm the chief operating officer for a small nonprofit here in Tucson called Polyhymnia, dedicated to culture and the arts. And that's about it. The rest about me, I'm sure, will come out over the next hour and a half.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, his partner in crime, Anton Davies. He's also the host of Words and Numbers, found at the same place, wordsandnumbers.org. Also, shockingly, co-author of the same book, Cooperation and Coercion. You can follow him on X at Antony Davies. How are you tonight?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for inviting me. I do have a question. How is it that Marcus gets 400 points already? James got 200. We haven't even said anything. Why are these guys getting points?
It's chaos. It really,
It's freedom, Anthony. You're always confused about it.
Well, then look at his face too. I mean, I'm beautiful. Obviously, people are going to give me points right off jump.
It's just going to be so more embarrassing for both of you when I win.
All right. So, Anthony, introduce yourself to everybody and tell us what you're up to.
Anthony Davies. I'm a recovering academic, currently working in the finance industry in the DC area.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us. And also, here's our lovely producer. I haven't seen her in seems like forever. How are you tonight, Terry?
I'm doing great. I'm already laughing. I can't wait. This chat, we're gonna have some fun tonight now. But give it to them. Don't be all sweet and nice and everything. Let's go ahead and have some fun while we're at it. Spread that liberty, share the channel, and let's do it.
Awesome. And our Friday night shows are brought to you by Xano. Tired of surveillance coins dressed up as freedom tech? Xano is the real deal. Open source, enterprise-grade privacy, scalable and secure. Build, spend, and tokenize any asset without the peeping eyes. Xano isn't just private. It's none of their business. And if you're new to the space, visit intro.xano.org to learn how Xano gives you the power to own your own data, your money, and your assets, all in one simple, secure platform built for real-world freedom. Appreciate you, Xano. And I'm a much bigger fan of Xano now that we're $40 trillion in debt and they're driving our currency into the toilet. So, shout out to Xano for that. Also, want to thank all of our subscribers. If you'd like to subscribe to us, you can do so on X. And if you'd like to sponsor the show, email studio@freedomuncut.com. And what else do I got? I think that's it. Usually I have like 10 things going on, but we just got back from the road tour. So we are home for the moment. So cool. Let's jump into the chat and say hello to everybody. Chris is here, a subscriber. What's up, Chris? Amity, another subscriber. Rob, who runs the LPNC account. What's up, Rob Yates? Another subscriber. Andra's here. Welcome. Looking forward to the Davies and Harrigan. Two Davies and Harrigan.
Andrew Mount.
Anarchist Chef is here. Another subscriber. What's up, buddy? Dan's here. Another subscriber. How are you, bud? Ivan's here. Welcome. Amity's given 200 to her favorite libertarian, Marcus. I'd like a recount on that. 200 gangster points to Marcus. 200 to James, 50 points to James for correcting Free on his name. Yeah, I don't like, as soon as I say something wrong one time, I'm gonna do it like 8 times in a row. So I apologize. 200 pity points to Antony. There we go. Because you complained that you didn't have points. You asked for that. You literally asked.
No, I complained that they did.
Well, yeah. Well, see, I was
now you're gonna lose more.
Yeah. Now you lost 13 for questioning the chat. Here we go. 200 to James for joining the chat. 174 to Andy for the best hair. That's true.
The only hair.
That's bullshit
that's
right there.
kinda
That's bullshit.
It's bad when there's 5 of us and I'm in 3rd place with all 12 of my hairs. So, yeah. 199 to Antony for talking shit. There we go. And here's to the Ant-Man. There we go. All right. Oh, no, there's a couple more. Minus 200. Brutus didn't deserve all those knives, dude. Nap violation. There we go. And, oh, wait. Caesar got the knives. 200 for the mistake. Back to 0. There we go. A self-correcting comment from the chat from Chris. Awesome. Let's jump into it here. Welcome again, everybody. And I want to just give a shout out to the wonderful people at the Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival. Amity and I went up there. We both gave talks. Then we did the show Saturday night. It was such a good time. And they've got their tentative dates up for 2027, August 12th through 15th. You can go to mplfest.org. It's camping. It's a festival. It's so much fun. I highly recommend you go next year if you get the chance. If you're anywhere in the Michigan area, split a tank of gas with somebody and get over there. That's a really good time. Hope to see you all soon. And wanted to give a shout out to our friend Lisa Belay, who's running for Congress in District 2 in Louisiana. More details to follow. I'll be reposting stuff. But if you want to get involved, hit us up. She's running now and 60 days left. So it's going to be a sprint. So get involved if you'd like. All right, I'm on X at Smarter Game Show. Terry is Bats T76, helping behind the scenes. Amity Lee 13, and I think Casey's lost in at a wedding or something. But he's at American versus Gov. Our gear is available at freedomsuperstore.com. We have shirts, we have mugs. I am wearing the Steal Your Wealth shirt right now because that's what they do, $40 trillion worth. And on YouTube, we're at Freedom Uncut. we've got our website too. You can go to Smarter Game Show and find everything there as well. Please share this out. Help bust the algorithm. And another shout out real quick to antiwar.com. They're doing their fundraiser this month. If you've got anything to spare, they are absolutely the best anti-war journalists out there, cutting through all of the BS and propaganda and giving you the real facts. So go to antiwar.com if you'd like to donate. All right. Since Trump ruined peace prizes, our grand prize is the Are You Smarter Than a Peace Prize. Also on the prize shelf, we have Mike Johnson's signature cologne Swamp Ass, as well as Ayn Rand Fountainhead Teddy Bear. We also have the assortment of libertarian bobbleheads. We also have Mitch McConnell's cryogenic chamber. It keeps career politicians on ice long past their expiration date. Also, this is from my buddy Nick Stank Memes. Follow him on X if you don't do so already. This is Junior's first Sawzall in case you have a flock camera in your neighborhood and you'd like to teach little Junior a little civic awareness. And we've got the Uniparty garbage cans because both sides belong in the same trash. We have the MAGA blow-up influencer. She looks real. She sounds empty. She gets paid. We also have all the religious books by Trump, the Trump Torah, the Trump Quran, the Trump Bible. And we've got the congressional pacemaker as well. The UFC White House set, but because it's the White House, the figures are sold separately. And finally, we have the Trump nativity set. It's August. We can't get rid of this thing. Somebody please take this off our hands. And the Killdozer, because nobody talks about the Killdozer more than me and Casey do. Here are the rules. I am the government. Whatever I say goes. Scoring errors count. Life isn't fair. Suck it up, Buttercup. Nobody cares. The chat controls the score. So the chat can give or take up to 100 points from contestants. And because I'm the government and I believe in crony capitalism, subscribers matter more. They can give or take up to 200 points because they pay me, so they matter more. Nuking a score. Any former contestant can nuke a score, taking it down by 1,000 points. The twist is you can only be nuked one time, and it has to be for a good reason unless it's Marcus. Lightning round, ready to go. We'll put Terry in the back. She handles the chat and the score. Make her life extremely difficult. Thank you, Terry. All right, first question of the night to you, Marcus. Category is, shockingly enough, the $40 trillion debt. Is either major party serious about the national debt?
I mean, obviously not. What's funny to me, and I was thinking about this when it's that 40 trillion hit, they only have a problem with the debt when they're not in power. And, you know, you're seeing that from the Democrats right now, and I'm just like, are you guys paying attention? Which they're not. So, long story short, they both suck. Vote Libertarian.
That is true. All right. James, to you. Is the 40 trillion is 40 trillion in debt a national emergency?
Sweet Jesus, yes. Of course it is. Sooner or later, we're going to have to pay the piper on this one. And we're at the point now where the interest on the debt is $1 trillion a year in our budget. Well, that's only going to grow. Interest rates aren't coming down no matter what Scott Bessent decides to do. And sooner or later, and probably sooner, you're going to see our monetary system collapse as a result of chronic mismanagement. And when it does, they're going to be weighing dollars just the way they weighed money in Venezuela.
Yep. Totally agree. All right, Antony, to you. Would you shut down the government before adding another trillion to the debt?
Would I shut it down? No. As tempting as that might sound, take it seriously for a moment. You shut down the national government and all of a sudden you've got a bigger problem, as big as the $40 trillion debt looks. And granted, I'm not saying it's small, it isn't. But as big as it looks, you'd have a much bigger problem if you shut down the national government. And it's not going to happen. I'll tell you why. Because the voters. And that's why we have the $40 trillion debt. Because voters want, on the one hand, lots of stuff that costs money. On the other hand, they don't want to pay taxes. And I don't argue with either one of those. I'm just saying the natural result of that is you get politicians who give you a $40 trillion debt.
All right. I'd shut down the government for a 6-pack of beer, but that's just me. All right, Marcus, to you. The category is war and foreign intervention. Is America's current war with Iran worth its cost?
Absolutely not. Sweet Jesus, because I want to get one of those sweet Jesus points by Amity gave. But war is the worst of humankind and should be the last absolute yeah, that's what I meant to say. At any rate, what sucks about this war is it didn't need to happen, because Persia has been around a long time. You're not going to wipe it out. And this has done nothing. They didn't have an exit plan, obviously, because look at where we're at right now. But this war was absolutely not worth it. And what struck me is when that 19-year-old Latina from Texas, when she passed away and they showed their picture, first thing that came to my mind was she died for nothing. And, oh, never mind. Let me take that back. She died for Israel. And I was just heartbroken by her passing.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. All right, James, to you. Should the United States stop funding foreign intervention while running trillion-dollar deficits?
Unpopular opinion here, probably not. And we would have to discuss what foreign intervention means, right? Because foreign wars, yes. Foreign aid, not necessarily. Foreign aid costs us almost nothing when you look at its percentage of the budget, and it gives us a strategic advantage when we need it. So it's functionally buying friends in very difficult places. I lived in Iraq for a while, and I can tell you that foreign aid goes a long way towards mending fences on the one hand and offering up possibilities for interaction on the other over the long term. So that probably pays off in the long run, as long as you don't look at it and decide, okay, let's go bomb these people now.
Yeah. You had me when you said that we were bribing them with that money. So I agree with that. All right, Antony, to you. Should avoiding another forever war matter more than maintaining American influence abroad?
Yeah, well, I guess the question is, what do we mean by American influence abroad? When politicians talk about it, they mean our political, our military influence. The far, far bigger influence is our economic influence. And the way to achieve better economic influence is to leave people alone, leave Americans alone to buy and sell with foreigners. And I tell you, and the data bear this out, the more free trade you have across countries, the far less problems you have militarily. We've been dealing with Cuba for however many decades. That would have been, we would have put paid on that 50 years ago if instead of setting up a blockade, we airdropped Coca-Cola to them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm allowed to cut in one time, right?
Well, yeah. Well, you can add on if you don't want to debate him. You can add on if you want.
I don't want to debate him exactly. I want to emphasize the point, because American pop culture has done more to bring the world together than any military ever could, right? We should be exporting our culture wholesale. If you put a McDonald's in the middle of Cuba and sent them MTV back in 1985, communists would have been as hard to find there as they are to find in Texas.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Back to you, Marcus. The category is your tax bill. Do Americans pay too much in taxes?
Sweet Jesus, yes. And it's what's really disgusting about that was explaining, for me at least, was explaining taxes to my kids. And this was very young, because, you know, they get birthday money, take them to the store and they want to buy something and they think they have enough. And I was like, no, you don't have enough, because there's taxes. And they started asking that question at a very young age. And I had to tell them it's the government taking your money for nothing. And they understood it almost immediately that the government had no bearing in their lives to take that money. Well, they never have any bearing in our lives to take money, but my kids learned that at a very young age. And we got to have some form, unfortunately, of, you know, the government in its limited form, some way to fund it, but they're just taking too much damn money. Rent is too damn high too. So I want to throw that in there. Thank you. Vote Libertarian.
Yeah. Real quick, I don't think the X is working again, or the X chat is working again. Terry just texted me. So if you're in the X chat, jump to YouTube, go to @FreedomUncut on YouTube, youtube.com/@FreedomUncut. Join us there. Sorry if you're in the X chat, not our fault. StreamYard sucks. And it's a paid service, so it's kind of crappy. All right, James, back to you. Is income taxation fundamentally unfair?
Fundamentally unfair? No. Unfair as it's practiced? Absolutely. The United States ran on between 2 and 4% of GDP per capita for its entire history until the progressive movement started in 1910. From that point forward, the slope just goes like this. It goes straight up and it shows no sign of topping off. And at this point, we're all paying what, 43% of all of our income in state, local, and federal taxes already. So when you're talking about 2%, hey man, I'm on board. I'll give you 2% to run the government. When we get up to 40, I think the answer has to start becoming go fuck yourself. And for some reason, the American people don't ever say that. So my suggestion is a simple one. At the end of every year, let's have no withholding. And on December 31st, everybody has to write a check for what they owe. We'll see the taxation regime go down the tubes in minutes.
Definitely would. All right, Antony, to you. Would you eliminate tax deductions in exchange for dramatically lower rates?
Oh, I'd eliminate everything except for one equation. Multiply your income by some number, everybody gets the same number, and you're done. Here's the thing that people don't appreciate. Going back to 1947, total federal tax revenue, that's all sources, payroll taxes, income taxes, estate taxes, the whole thing. Put it all together, it's been 18% of GDP. Plus or minus a little bit, but basically flat, 18% of GDP. It hasn't mattered whether we tax the rich or tax the poor or tax the companies or tax income or tax payroll, tax high, tax low. None of it matters. We stay at that 18% of GDP is total federal tax revenue. So what that tells me is all we need to do, you can have the same tax revenue, just take whatever your income is, multiply it by 0.18 and you're done. And we're not going to do that. And the reason has nothing to do with the tax revenue. It has to do with the fact that the more complicated the tax code is, the easier it is for politicians to hand out special favors in the form of tax rebates or a lower tax credit over here, or whatever it is, in exchange for getting elected.
Awesome. I love it. We got our first fired up contestant. I love it. Here we go. All right. Back to you, Marcus. The category is future generations. Is Washington stealing prosperity from Americans who haven't been born yet?
First thing I want to do is say happy birthday to the great Dr. Paul, one of the great Americans that always talked about future generations, because he birthed many. Well, he didn't birth them. He was right there pulling the thing out. But the problem with the debt and taxation is the generations prior have been complacent and surrendered their natural born rights in a republic, and they have doomed the future generations. And that's one of the main motivations of why I do what I do, because my kids are 23 and 21. And they haven't lived a day when the states have been at war. They haven't lived a day where life has gotten progressively more expensive at seemingly at a faster pace than it's ever have. And I look at their future and it scares the shit out of me. And I'm not going to stand by and not use my delicious voice to go out there and tell people to vote for libertarians, because we're the only people that will leave you alone and do something about the debt and taxes. The duopoly doesn't give a shit about your future. They give a shit about tomorrow. That's it. They don't give a shit about next year.
I just got to point out real quick. I love that you took the beauty of childbirth, one of the greatest miracles in all of existence, and you broke it down to pulling the thing out. That Dr. Paul pulled the thing out 3,000 times before he went to Congress. Oh my Lord. All right.
Well, I'm in California. I really can't, assign that birth stuff. It gets kind of murky.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. All right, James, to you. Should today's voters be allowed to promise benefits future taxpayers must fund?
Fuck no. And remember Ruby Ridge in the comments. Mandating something on generations yet unborn is fundamentally unjust. And this is why I think we've got a massive Social Security problem. We've got a massive debt problem. It's all because a bunch of politicians said, oh, fuck it. We'll let people in the future figure it out. And as my partner likes to say, almost everything the government does now is taxation without representation, because the unborn are not able to vote on any of this. And we just keep hanging the albatross around their necks year after year after year. And this is going to come to no good.
I agree. There's one more point opportunity hidden in that comment for anybody that's missed one. So, all right, Antony, to you. Do politicians ignore long-term problems because elections reward short-term thinking?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it baffles me when people say things like corporations are only concerned with short-run profit. That's absolutely false. Corporations are thinking, of course, they'll think in the short run, but they're concerned with their shareholders who are looking at the long-run picture for this corporation. Who is actually concerned with the short run is the politician. If you're in the House of Representatives, you've got a 2-year focus, and that's about it. And it's probably even shorter than that, because the fact is the voters aren't going to remember more than 6 months down the line what it is that you had done 6 months earlier. So in that sense, I would imagine politicians have a much shorter time frame, time horizon than does anybody else in the economy.
I agree. All right. Enter your scores in the chat if you haven't done so already. Please share the show out if you're enjoying yourself. Let's jump into the chat and see what's going on. Oh, it's hopping. All right. Antony lost points for looking at gift horse in the mouth or something like that. Antiwar.com's here. We were just talking about you. Donate to antiwar.com. The best in the business, exposing war propaganda and telling the truth. Oddsman said $40 trillion shit. Okay. Waz is here. What's up, Waz? Waz is releasing original music on his channel now, so check that out. Follow Waz. Papa B, another subscriber's here. 200 to Marcus for the first to say vote Libertarian. First of many, Papa B. 200 to James for Sweet Jesus. Paul Dar's here, former vice chair of the Libertarian Party and now current vice chair of LP Texas, and also a subscriber and a friend. 200 to Marcus for vote Libertarian. Minus 100 to Antony for shut it all down, or for not saying shut it all down in that case. Minus 100 to Marcus for the Dodgers hat. Go White Sox. That I agree with that. 112 to Big Black Baby Sweet Jesus. But I'm gonna guess that's to James. That might be to James. I'm not exactly sure.
Come on, man.
I'm pretty sure that's for Marcus.
Oh, it might be Marcus. Yeah, it might be Marcus. 100 to Marcus for the answer on war. 200 Marcus, sad for her passing. Also, yeah, that was terrible. 200 to Antony for open all trade. Anthony Durazio is here. What's up, buddy? 50 to Marcus for wearing his sunglasses at night so he can he can watch you weave, then breathe your storyline. Is that
It's
the
still
whole
daylight in here.
That's even weirder than I remember it being. That's crazy. 200 for airdropping Coca-Cola to Antony. There we go. 200 to James for exporting pop culture, free market instead of government intervention and influence. 200 McFriend points to James. 200 to Marcus for being a good dad. Minus 100 to me for blaming StreamYard. No, this one actually was not my fault. This is literally not my fault. Usually 99.9% of the time, it's the government's fault or my fault, mostly the government, but this one's StreamYard. 200 Marcus for vote Libertarian. I think I did that one. 100.
Oh,
At least scrolling. Sweet Jesus points.
no,
121 to James and the taxation regime. 100 to the dog from last week. What was the dog's name? George or something? I forget what it was. Last week we did the show outside at the Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival. We had dogs. We had kids wandering around. One of the contestants, Ryan, jumped in the lake. It was pretty awesome. 200 to James, to GFY, to the government. 200, we were awarded these. 200 to wish Ron Paul a happy birthday. Nobody wished Joe Strummer a happy birthday. And then we did get the Ruby Ridge one. 100 for the first person that makes a Penn State cocaine joke. Yeah, that was a crazy story. 200 to Marcus for the Dr. Paul shout out. 100 to Marcus, RE, children growing up under endless war. 28 to Marcus, your voice is delicious. I don't want to say these things, Rob. I do not want to say these things. LOL, Dr. Paul's service summed up only like Marcus can. He was right there pulling the thing out. 200 dork point. Mark for Liberty's here. What's up? Oh, that's Papa B. 200 to Marcus for Duopoly sucks. 200 to James for Remember Ruby Ridge. 115 to James for the Coleridge reference. 200 to James for a shout out to the unborn. 100 to Antony for because he does have really excellent facial hair. There
very distinguished.
And Antony does, again, we got it again. So there's a lot on the facial hair there. So people are enthralled by the facial hair. All right, let's, where am I here? Did I lose it? There we go. I feel like I've never done this show before. It's like number 114 and I'm all discombobulated today. All right, let's check out the scoreboard. Marcus in the lead. I'd like a recount on this. There's a hanging chud somewhere. 35-90. James second, 34-82. Anthony, 32-83. Oh, and the dog from last week is still getting points. Got 100 points. Good job by the dog. No dogs were harmed during the filming of last week's show. Awesome. All right, let's jump back to it. Marcus, back to you. This category is brought to us by our friends at Xano. Marcus, the category is cryptocurrency. Does America need cryptocurrency as an escape hatch from government money?
Obviously they do, but what concerns me is the government doesn't like competition, and first of all, the government is nothing but a bunch of criminals, and that's why they make laws to criminalize behavior because it's competition. What burdens my soul with cryptocurrency is I've seen where the government has paid ransoms and whatnot in cryptocurrency. And I'm in IT, and they put hidden code in the crypto, and they were able to retrieve it. And I know damn well that they would do that to you and I in a heartbeat if we did or said something that they didn't like. So for me, my personal favorite money is the kind you could put in your pocket and carry it with you. But crypto needs to be a viable option to get away from the government. I'm all for anything to get away from the government, put it that way. So, yes.
Yeah. Privacy coins they can't hijack. Bitcoin might be hijacked already, but
yeah.
All right, James, to you. Should Americans be free to transact privately with cryptocurrency?
Americans should be free to transact privately with any goddamn thing they want. Chickens, goats, crypto, whatever. I'm very concerned about any form of money, and money is only that thing which we all agree is money, right? So we all agree dollars are money, so therefore dollars are money. I'm worried about any form of money that can be tracked in any way by the government, right? So can they track crypto? Probably. They probably have the skills to do that. Can they track your pay? Well, they already do that. Can they track your bank account? They're already doing that too. What they can't track is probably hard money, gold and silver that you buy somehow and have delivered to an address that's not your own and then go pick it up. Is that a little conspiratorial on my part? Yeah, but look who we're dealing with.
I agree.
Word.
That's why I'm a privacy coin guy, because the blockchain's public, so you can track anything on the blockchain. But if it's private, can't be tracked. Much better solution. Nobody needs to know how many tanks I bought or where they happen to be. That kind of thing. So, all right, Antony, to you, could cryptocurrency eventually make central banks less powerful?
Maybe. It depends on the type of cryptocurrency we're talking about. The nice thing about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, for example, that's not the only one. The nice thing about those is they are an alternative. If we were to reach a point where the federal government were inflating the currency to such an extent that we become very concerned about its value, there's Bitcoin on the side. There are things like that we can use. They become competitors. And in the shadows, they provide competition for the dollar. The thing we need to be careful about is a different type of crypto that's the digital dollar. The digital dollar combines the worst parts of a government currency and a digital currency. It's something the government can control and the government can track and just take. If the government decides we're going to impose a 50% tax on everyone, if your money is in digital dollars, they can just reach in and take what they want. Forget about filing your taxes.
I agree. You're actually cheating ahead in the deck of questions, but I like it because I agree with you 100%. So, all right, Marcus, to you, category is digital money. Would programmable government money be a threat to freedom?
I would like to submit Antony's answer to this question.
You're just gonna cheat off Andy. I mean, there's worse strategies. There's literally worse strategies than that. I mean, I actually kind of like it. I think you should do that the rest of the show. That might be a good idea. That's excellent. All right, James, to you. Is convenience worth giving government visibility into every transaction?
I want to begin by saying nobody should be kissing up to Antony or showing him this level of respect. It breaks my heart to see it happen. To answer your question, though, I don't think there should be any visibility, right? Just none. And we all make our trade-offs, right? Life is filled with trade-offs. Do I trade off some of my privacy for convenience? Of course I do. Look where I am right now. But I get really hesitant when the government gets to put its thumb on that scale, right? If think about the flock cameras right now. The government can literally track me from the minute I leave my house to wherever I go to the second I get back in my garage again. I had no say in any of that. And how does that give me any form of convenience? Most convenience in the end is convenience for law enforcement. And I'll die on that hill.
I agree. Once again, that's why I like the privacy coins, and I do like the precious metals and anything that you can just hand to your friend, right? All right, Antony, to you, should America permanently reject a central bank digital currency?
Wow, now that's a hard one. Should they? Yes. Will they? No. One thing that we have demonstrated by our behavior is that we are willing to give up all manner of freedoms in exchange for convenience. So yes, we should, but no, we won't.
Do you think the next stimulus will be USD1 or something like that?
No, the next stimulus will look like previous stimuli. There's not going to be much difference there. The place to watch for new stuff is round about 2032, 2034, when we have to finally decide what to do with Social Security. They're going to do everything they can to hide what's going on, and that's the perfect time to introduce something like a digital dollar. Anything that obscures what's happening.
Ooh, I love that take. Excellent. All right, Marcus, do you want your question, or should I just go back to Andy?
Well, let's
just
give him a shout out because he changed his name and he put the apostrophe correctly, and it irks me to no living hell when people say Marcus is with a apostrophe S
Oh,
after
I
that.
didn't even
So
see
you know
that.
what?
I didn't even see that. Oh,
We'll get the question, and then I'll decide whether I want to.
I literally can't think of a bigger waste of computer power than Marcus AI. Like that uses water to put out the fires it's causing itself or something. So.
It is what it
When
is,
my
brother.
son when my son was 5 years old, I told him Antony was a robot, and my son believed me so much that he brought a magnet over to Antony's house to try and stick it to him.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. Awesome. That Marcus will never have that problem. So, all right, Marcus, to you. Category small business. Should starting a basic business require zero government permission?
What's interesting to me about this question is there was this young, well, not young, this person, a young person on Instagram that just started her business, and she posted all the fees that she had to pay the government, and one of them was the square footage of her office. She had to pay a fee for the square footage, and I remarked, you know, in my libertarian self, hey, wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to pay all that crap to start a business and start earning money, and if you were able to use that money to build up your business? She's like, yeah, but that's just the way it is. And I was like, it doesn't have to be like that. I was like, and I tell people I'm a libertarian like vegans tell people they're vegans. And I told her, hey, look, there is another way. There is another path to this. The government should not be burdening you to open a business whatsoever. And we have to work towards that goal, because that $2,300 that you paid because of the size of your office, imagine what you could have did with that money in an advertising budget, or, you know, cutting down on the overhead of other factors of opening your business. And she did not want to listen whatsoever, and it was quite disappointing, to be honest with you. And I blame public education, and that's why we need to end public indoctrination education that government is omnipotent. With that being said, and like I told her, vote libertarian.
There you go. All right, James, to you. Is government harder on small businesses than big corporations?
I think it ends up working out that way in practice, simply because small businesses don't have the resources of a large corporation, right? I know very few, I don't know any small business owners who have a legal department or a compliance department, right? The guy who runs the business is that thing. And, you know, a business owner can only do so much. And I think Marcus's answer before was instructive, right? People don't understand how difficult it is to negotiate the waters that the government has polluted so badly. And I also blame public education, which is why I homeschooled all of my children, to raise up three little rebels that'll end up talking a lot like us at some point in the future. But my heart goes out to small business owners right now, especially in the states with extraordinarily high minimum wages. It's damn near impossible to have anything left for yourself when you're done. And you're in the act of creating something. And you can't create enough to support yourself because of government. And government only destroys things. It doesn't create. Government only takes and then gives to its preferred cronies, and the small business owners are never the preferred cronies.
Totally agree. All right, Antony, to you. Would eliminating red tape create more opportunity than another government program?
Oh, absolutely. I love to quote my favorite president, Ronald Reagan. The best thing government can do is get out of the way. Government is fundamentally not in the business of innovating, of being efficient. That's not what government's about. And I'm not sure we want government to be about that. Some of the worst governments in history have been the most efficient ones. But what government is particularly not good at is anything that involves innovation, that involves business, that involves catering to consumers, figuring out what people want. Leave that to businesses. And the best way the government can do that is to get off of their backs, both in terms of taxation and in terms of regulation.
Can I interject
Great.
real quick?
Yeah, well, I just want to point out Reagan was my favorite senile president. But go ahead, Marcus.
Government is good at innovating death and destruction. That is one thing government, in any form it's ever manifested itself in, it has always been good at destroying people's lives, both physically and financially.
Yeah, and I'm gonna push back a little bit there. I don't disagree with you, Marcus. However, even there, free markets show us that the market can do it better. Organized crime actually is better at it than the government, and that's the free market version of government.
Well, I mean, we could debate that point the rest of the night, because I still think government is organized crime. But yeah, I see your point, brother.
Hold on a second. Let me ask Marcus AI who makes more money, the government or organized crime. Let me ask quick. All right, go ahead, James.
Oh,
wait, yeah, I want to jump in on this. The most horrifying, terrifying thing in the world, and I'm a political scientist, I've studied this my whole life, is an efficient government. That's the very last thing you ever want. The American government, if you read the Constitution, it was designed to be incredibly inefficient. And that's the best possible outcome for everybody. When a politician comes along and says, I'm going to make government more efficient, I'm going to streamline the government, all I see are swastika flags hanging behind him, because that's government efficiency, and it's the last thing you want.
All right. The Grok says governments make far more by a wide margin, about $38 trillion a year. So they waste it all. So it's not pure profit, so I guess that could be debated. So, all right. Now I've lost complete track of where we were. Whose question is it? We're back to Marcus. Okay. Marcus, question is to you. The category is corporate welfare. Should profitable corporations ever receive taxpayer subsidies?
No corporation should receive a damn thing from me, you, your mom, your cousin Lucy, anybody. Government, it should not be in the business of picking winners and losers. And I recently heard a Republican say that, and I was taken aback. I was like, how the hell? The hypocrisy is astounding. But government, the problem with that is government is the problem. And we can't afford the bullshit anymore. Vote libertarian.
All right, James, to you. Should government ever pick economic winners and losers?
Didn't I just say that?
Yeah, I believe Marcus did just say that, and I'm going to say it again. And I think we should all say it forever. The government should have no hand in business at all. I mean, I guess we can make an interstate commerce argument if you want to read the Constitution honestly, but even then, the government doesn't read the Constitution honestly. Picking winners and losers is for the market to do. If Pepsi made a better product, I'd be drinking that, but Pepsi makes a horrible product, so I drink Coke. If Coke made a really good 0-calorie thing, I would, well, look, they do, and I do drink it. I get to choose. Now, if Antony wants to drink Pepsi, that's on him. And everybody gets to live with their own decisions. We don't look to the government to steal from the people to pick winners. It's fundamentally immoral, and it's a terrible idea besides.
Definitely is. All right, Antony, to you. Should taxpayers bail out companies considered too big to fail?
No, first off, there is no such thing as too big to fail. It's something politicians say when they want to justify bailing out a corporation. Give you a very good comparison. Pittsburgh and Detroit, both of them hit very hard times. Today, Pittsburgh is a hub of innovation. It's growing. It survived the 2008 crisis better than any city in the country. Detroit's a wasteland. What's the major difference? The major difference is when automobile industry hit the skids, the government bailed them out. When steel hit the skids, the government didn't. Now, the difference is Detroit had a short-term win because they had all that nice government money coming in. But what happened is that government money upheld, kept alive a patient that should have died. And because the patient was alive, it's eating up resources that entrepreneurs can't use. In Pittsburgh, the patient died. And it was hard. It was hard for a number of decades. But what happened was entrepreneurs came in, innovation came in, and something new grew out of that, what was left. That's the difference. That's what you get when you bail out. You get a short-term win, which is what politicians want, but it comes at a long-term, much larger cost.
So, quick follow-up question. Can we Pittsburgh or Detroit, DC?
Can you repeat the question?
I was just joking. I said, can we either Pittsburgh or Detroit, Washington, D.C.? Can we give them that, decades of
I'm
heartache?
Team Pittsburgh on that question.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, D.C. is the example of the biggest bailout that has ever been in the history of humanity. That's basically what the federal government is, except that unlike Detroit, for example, that has to go hat in hand looking for the money, the government just sends its thugs and takes what it wants.
Yeah, very true. All right. Back to you, Marcus. Categories localism and agorism. Can people solve more problems without government than politicians admit?
Wholeheartedly they can. The thing about politics should always be local. I really don't want to hear anything about any federal government on a daily basis like we're inundated with right now. What I want to hear is why my local city council has put up flock cameras. I want to hear why my local government is just was running a $1.2 million deficit after they bought a helicopter in a 43 square mile city with one of the lowest crime rates in Southern California, all in the name of keeping us safe when crime is actually socioeconomic. And this is not a area that is suffering high poverty rates or whatever else in those that type of factors are. That's why I say libertarians need to start locally and start governing locally so they could see what it's like, and we could do that at the county level, then we could do that at the state level, and then we could do that at the federal level. That should be one of the game plans. I hope Evan has a chance to hear my great answer to this question, because that should be the focus of the Libertarian Party on the local level. Yeah, we could do state and federal, but at the same time, we need to get more local people in there so the politics is local and we can start getting the federal organized crime syndicate out of our lives. Vote Libertarian.
Awesome. All right, James, to you. Is building alternatives more effective than electing better politicians?
Well, given that you will never elect better politicians, and James Madison predicted this back in 1787, yeah, alternatives are what you need. And I want to piggyback again on what Marcus was saying, because Tip O'Neill used to say all politics is local. And as Speaker of the House of Representatives, for those who are too young to remember Tip O'Neill, and they really are. If you look at where the finger of governmental power touches you the most when you're showing your psychiatrist on that doll, that finger is going to be local government. It's going to be the zoning board, right? Shit like this. When the local Karens decide that they can form an association, get some sort of power over you, they're going to do it. And when they realize that they could just take over local government and do it that way, get on the education board and make your life a living hell that way, well, they're going to do that. And the only way to start fighting so massive a problem is fighting it where you live, where you are. We're not going to go to DC and have some kind of rally and everybody's going to go, oh, these folks were right all along. we're going to take over the school board and take a look at the curriculum and say, you know what? Fuck this, fuck that, and fuck you. We're going back to what used to work. And we're going to do that over and over and over again. And I would say electing a rational mayor is probably more effective on a day-to-day basis to your life than getting a better president the next time around.
I had to write that down. The "Where did the government touch you" doll will definitely be on the prize shelf next week. So I totally appreciate that.
I got to tell you, man, I wanted every single one of those prizes you showed. So if something that came out of my foul mouth can get on that list, that'd be great.
I wrote down.
That's awesome.
I wrote down FT, FT, FY. Fuck that.
The funny thing is, James, I did those prizes for like I can't even tell you how many shows, and no one said anything about them. So it was just like this weird thing in my head that I just kept doing, and nobody said they liked them, they hate them, or anything. I just kept doing them. So
I love them, and I want to buy them for my friends for Christmas. You keep doing that.
Spike, in a moment of distress, one time said he's like 15,000 in if I manufacture something. So I'm not going to hold him to it, but he said that one time. So
we could probably talk about that. That's a business opportunity right there. Yeah.
There we go. All right, back to it here. Antony, to you, can parallel economies meaningfully reduce government power?
Not parallel economies, parallel governments. They can meaningfully reduce government power. And that's exactly what the founders had in mind. And that's what they built. And we've screwed it up. The founders built, we talk about the separation of powers of the executive and the judicial and the legislative, completely overlooking the larger separation of powers that the founders created between the states and the federal government. The states were supposed to be the place where the majority of governing went on, and those states were forced to compete. As those who do it well will attract people, those who do it poorly are going to lose people. We've got examples of that today in California versus Texas, for example. The founders set that up. We screwed it up, not totally, but partly when we decided that we should have direct election of senators. The Senate was never meant to represent the people. It wasn't meant to be a democratic body. It was meant to represent the interests of the states. The senators were elected by the state legislators, and that created an entire arm of Congress answerable to the 50 states. We destroyed that when we essentially made it into a super version of the House of Representatives.
But why not parallel economies?
Parallel economies, I guess I don't know what you mean by that, because there's economy is the economy.
Any economy outside of, the government controlled economy. So, black markets,
here we go.
Trade with neighbors, any of that stuff.
Yeah, and I would say, okay, so I get what you're saying. I wouldn't call those parallel economies. I would call it a portion of the economy from which the government has been excluded. And does that reduce government power? Yeah, but not nearly as effectively as parallel governments can reduce government power. If you want the beautiful example of parallel governments, look at planet Earth. Right? People say that, well, there's no such thing as anarchism. It would never work. We operate in an anarchic environment at the country level. There is no world government here. The individual governments are running in parallel. They're competing. We could be doing that internally within the United States as well.
Yeah, I always say that we basically live in anarchism right now with randomly enforced laws and, punishments and stuff like that. I mean, you could go buy pretty much anything anywhere and most likely get away with it. Just every once in a while they catch somebody doing it, and they may or may not get in trouble depending on if you live in Beverly Hills or if you live in Marcus's neighborhood. The punishments are different. So, all right, cool. Back to it. Marcus enter scores. Let's check out the chat. Share this out again if you're enjoying this. Oh, the chat's hopping. Marcus got points for singing. That's no good. Annie makes me think of Dos Equis, most interesting man in the world. 200 beer
Give
points.
Townsend 100 points.
There, he's a good guy. Great friend of mine. 100 to me for coming up with enthralled all on his own. Did I say that? I don't know.
Yes.
New rule: anytime none of y'all make a point in the round, I'm giving my points to the dog from last week. No, I like that, Anarchist Chef. You do that. 151 to James for Americans should be free to conduct business in whatever way they want to, and another 40 for chickens and goats. Okay. 112 to James for trading livestock. There was a lot of livestock in that answer. Points to James for buying stuff with chickens and goats. This is turned into like Old McDonald or something. I don't know what's going on here. But James gets the 200 points for this round. There we go. All right. And 200 to James for the goats. More goats. Points to James for the tinfoil hat while he was doing something with a goat. And 134 to Antony for just saying no to CBDCs. 200 to Antony for the picture behind him. I don't know what it is, but it reminds me of stained glass, and it's beautiful. What do you got behind you? People like to critique everybody's offices. What's that behind you?
It's a Chinese etching of some description, and I'm revealing my ignorance. That's as much as I know about it. That, and it reflects the light in front of me.
There you go. All right. Chinese etching for the win. Here we go.
Nice.
Points to Antony because he's super smart. And points to James for the stainless steel hat. Points to Antony for Marcus's answer. Oh, that was a little switcheroo there. Marcus did not get the points. Antony got the points. And 200 Bogart points to Marcus for stealing the answer.
Net
so it
zero.
evened out for Marcus. And 200 to James. No visibility. It's none of the government's damn business. There are no solutions, only trade-off. 200 for the first person to say whose quote that is.
Milton Friedman.
Friedman is correct. 200 to James for mentioning flock mass surveillance. 168 to Antony and 32 to Marcus. Oh, now we got some co-op happening. I hope it's voluntary. That's all I have to say. They can track you from the glare off your dome, James. 175 invisible points. 200 to AI Marcus for good grammar. 200 to Antony for trolling Marcus. 100 to Antony for answering unasked questions. That happens sometimes on the show. Government should not burden us. Points to Marcus. Points to Marcus's friend for quoting Bruce Hornsby. Points to James for homeschooling. Small business owners carry a big burden. Points to James. Points to Antony. Government should get out of the way. Points to Marcus. Government is organized crime. Points to James. Homeschool. I was homeschooled. Turned out just fine. Angela's a wonderful human being, so I believe that 100%. The mafia isn't 40 trillion in debt. I think you win that argument, Chef. 200 hungry hypocrisy points to Marcus. I'm in favor of that, whatever that meant. Points to James, fuck Pepsi. Government should not pick winners and losers. Points to Marcus, James, and minus 100 to me for not catching it. Was it the same question twice? It was just similar, I think. I think you just segued into it.
I said it earlier. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, I write like a million questions a year. I mean, sometimes I screw up. Points to Antony for no bailouts. William's here. What's up, buddy? My friend and a subscriber. Points to me, the best damn game show on the web. Thank you, William.
Horse plop.
Points to the first person who says agorism.
Agorism.
Oh, that must have been a tie.
How about to the person who could define it?
Oh,
I heard you. I heard your keys clicking when that word came up. I heard them.
Hey Siri.
You can't be that much of an agorist if you don't like parallel economies. I'm just throwing that out there. My buddy Zach's here. What's up, Zach? I'll take over a local government and have adoration benediction. I give myself 800 points. I win. That was, I don't know. 200 to James for the Psycho Doll. Jim's here. What's up? Way late, but great guests. Yeah, they're awesome. And Darren's here. What's up, buddy? Antony's correct. We may disagree which was better, but I'm a constitutional scholar. And generally speaking, Antony's correct. 200 points. Points to Antony for anarchy. Antony may be from a parallel universe. 200. Points to Antony for the great answer on parallel economics. Points to Marcus for a cool answer. What's up, Osman? And points to Antony for a clean office. Very nice. All right, that was a lot of reading. And let's check out the scoreboard here. All right. Antony in the lead, 79-84.
No
James
way.
just behind. James just behind Well, you got a lot of points for Marcus stealing your answer. And
Suck
that
it,
is
James.
I
Yeah.
thought that was a
I'm
creative
co-
answer.
I'm-
I'm kind of upset.
I'm
that I
coming
didn't.
for you, white man. I am coming.
You're
for
going
you.
down, James.
I love
Fuck
that
you.
Marcus is
Fuck
leading
you.
in points lost. And
Yeah, that's
the
bullshit.
dog from last week is catching up with Marcus, and that would make me so happy if he wins. So
Whatever. I
let's
want to
keep
talk
it going.
about black markets.
Oh, here we go. All right, Marcus, to you. The category is technocratic governance. Should experts ever have the final say over elected officials?
I don't think anybody should have the final say over shit if it has to do with your life in general. Experts, you should go and get your own opinion from the so-called experts, and you should ignore every goddamn thing a politician tells you because it's all bullshit and lies. Now, when it comes to experts, you need to choose your experts and live so accordingly to your own life standards, and everybody needs to leave everybody else the hell alone. And that's what happens if you vote for a libertarian.
All right, James, to you. Does better technology make centralized government more dangerous?
Yeah, of course it does. But I want to get back to agorism because somebody's offering bonus points here. It waters down to voluntarism. But anyway, technology is an amplification of human nature. I think that's always been true. And human nature has always been quite difficult. Hobbes, back in the very pre-Enlightenment, said that life in a state of nature would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, because human nature is so fucking awful. And as government becomes more technologically adept, you find that government becomes more controlling and more dangerous. And I'll just throw this thought experiment out to you. What do you do in the course of an average day that the government doesn't regulate and oversee in some way? And the answer, I'm going to give you the short answer, is absolutely nothing except having thoughts. And the government will even regulate your thoughts if you use them to commit a crime. So, I mean, we're in very dangerous territory here. And the more technologically adept the government gets, the more terrifying it should be to everyone.
I have to think that Samuel Edward Konkin III, SEK3, is rolling over in his grave at the very simplistic agorist definition there.
I had a question to answer.
You went yada 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 voluntary was basically the agorist agorist definition there. Outside of government, independent, black markets, voluntary, yeah, all those things. So, but I had to give you a little
all for
smack
black
on that.
markets.
Yeah, there you go. Here we go. All right, Anthony, to you. Should AI be allowed to make government decisions?
No, I don't think government should be making government decisions, let alone AI. Look, you started off this round of questions by asking, should the experts, or in this case, the AI, be running things? And it raises the question, well, who says who the experts are? You know, I mean, what do we have? We do have a governmental apparatus in place that's kind of, I guess, set up to decide, or at least separate people who are more expert from less expert. We call that the public school system, and we all know how well that thing works. Here's the thing to be careful about. The smartest people are those who are in greater awe of their ignorance than they are of their intelligence. Generally speaking, those are not the people who are going to put their hands up when you ask who wants to be the expert.
Very true.
Profound.
All right. Marcus, to you, the category is government surveillance. Should police need a warrant to track where your car travels?
See, this is tough for me. I don't think police,
Because you don't have a
should
car?
Well, that, you know, there's nothing the matter with taking the bus. I live in the projects, and the bus is very convenient. So stop with the shenanigans there, Free. Can we go back to the question one more time? Because you
Oh,
got
my
me all
Lord.
flustered.
Oh my Lord. I thought you were going to say you ride your bike everywhere like the guy in Friday. All right. So the question is, should police need a warrant to track where your car travels?
Police should not be worried about where anyone travels. What pains me is that we like to call ourselves a free society. I'll talk shit about the government, and somebody will tell me, "We'll go move to North Korea and see what happens there." I was like, "Fuck North Korea! I want it to be fixed here. Why can't I say what's happening here without you wanting to kick me out to some dog-eating communist? I want to be able to go about my business without government anywhere in my life. That's what I want for my kids. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for your Aunt Lucy. And that's why I think you should vote for libertarians. Police should be catching criminals, not worrying about if Marcus is going to Stater Brothers to buy a delicious ribeye to throw on a barbecue grill. That's just the way it should be. Thank you. Vote libertarian.
We are now banned in North Korea if we weren't already. So, all right. James, to you. Is mass surveillance too high a price for public safety?
It absolutely is. You can't be free and surveilled constantly at the same time. That's a non sequitur. It just can't exist. And look, I'm going to say something that's probably going to piss some people off. Most Americans are not terrifically interested in being free. They're interested in being safe. And I think that makes them cowards. They're afraid of freedom. And they talk about ordered freedom even when they even talk about it. But I like actual freedom. And actual freedom is messy, contentious, rambunctious. And I think that's just fine. Because in the end, people are cooperative creatures. If you leave them be, they'll get along just fine. On the margins, you're going to find difficulties. We will always have a criminal element, and a portion of the criminal element will be a violent criminal element. And I think the Second Amendment goes way further to solving that problem than mass surveillance.
Definitely agree. All right, Anthony, to you. Should local police be allowed to build databases of innocent people's movements?
No, I don't think so. And I think there's a right that's going to evolve. I shouldn't say evolve. Our description of this right is going to evolve. And it's what I refer to as the right to anonymity. And that is, with all of the technology that we have, and we're carrying the phones, you've got the cameras and all of this, it is possible to track people 24/7. So in that sense, you could say, well, you've voluntarily given up your right to privacy because you're walking along the streets, you're carrying the phone and all of that. Yes, but under normal circumstances, I'm one amongst hundreds of millions of people where my fellow citizens are concerned. I'm anonymous, and I should have that right of anonymity with the government. In other words, just because the government can survey me doesn't mean that it should be allowed to.
I agree. All right, Marcus, back to you. This category is brought to us by our friends at Zoom Beyond Shrooms. Check out zoomtrip.com, xumtrip.com. They make great stuff. Marcus, the category is the war on drugs. Has the war on drugs failed?
No. And I will say this, because if you knew the origin story on the war on drugs, it was to put hippies in front of news cameras smoking weed, portraying them as criminals, and black people strung out on heroin, portraying them as criminals. That's what Richard Nixon originally intended with the war on drugs, and it has succeeded twofold in doing that. And the way they have demonized it, like what happened in Texas recently, where you'll go to jail longer for 2 grams of weed than molesting a kid. That is what the war on drugs, that's what its intent was, to subjugate people according to government whims. And the war on drugs has succeeded. Now, has it been a waste of money? Absolutely. It has been a colossal waste of money. But the intent of the war on drugs, people say drugs are winning. You know, on the face value of that, that's true. But on policy wise, it's doing what it was intended to do. And that's why you should vote for a libertarian, so we can stop wasting that money. Thank you.
There you go. All right, James, to you. Should drug possession ever put someone in prison?
I think not. I'm long of the opinion that every drug should be legal and available at the local 7-Eleven. So putting people into prison for possessing something that they want to possess that harms no one but themselves, and even that quite rarely actually, is, I think, patently absurd. And you see that with legalization of weed as it goes across the country. The United States of America did not become a post-apocalyptic hellscape the minute weed was legalized, as was predicted far and wide. Well, okay, why are we still putting people in prison for literally anything else that they want? It would be like the government deciding it didn't want you to have bookcases anymore, and you went out and bought a bookcase and got caught with it coming home. Where's the fucking harm in a bookcase? Well, where's the harm in mushrooms? I'll be damned if I know. All I see with mushrooms are benefits. And beyond that, simply, even a destructive drug, which I think cocaine is a patently destructive drug. If people want it, then they should have it. And we should be honest about these things. We're either going to let people be free or we're not. And if we decide that we're not, why is alcohol legal? It's the most destructive drug of all. And yet that's the one that we all turn our backs to. So, I mean, the entire thing is asinine from cover to cover.
Absolutely agree. All right, Antony, to you. Does prohibition create more violence than drugs themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. And how it is we didn't learn this from the alcohol prohibition is beyond my comprehension. All of the stuff, you see it now in, the movies about the 1920s and so forth. All of the stuff about the rise of organized crime and the people being gunned down and all of that was precisely because we made alcohol illegal. As soon as we turned around and we made it legal again, we had that problem largely disappeared. So too with drugs. Drugs are one of these things James and I wrote in our book, Cooperation and Coercion. We have an entire chapter on this. We called the war on nouns. We had the war on drugs. We have the war on poverty. We have the war on terror. We have the war on COVID. These are things that politicians love because they never end. You never declare victory in these wars. And that's great for politicians because it means that they can keep funneling money to this thing, from this thing to people who are going to vote for them. So yeah, the war on nouns basically benefits government and politicians.
Catch me later, Darren. But I want to follow up on that for just a second, Ant.
Go for it.
If you add up what we have spent on the wars on nouns, I'll give you one guess what the number is. It's about $40 trillion.
Wow.
Yeah. How about, ain't that some shit? The exact amount of our massive debt that we will never be able to pay off is directly attributable to our endless wars on nouns.
Yeah. And I'll give you one more. One of the wars on nouns is a war on poverty. We have spent, adjusted for inflation, since the war on poverty began, we have spent $20 trillion fighting poverty. For that same amount of money, we could, since 1962, have been cutting a check for $10,000 every year to every poor person in this country. That would have dropped our poverty rate to zero. It could have been at zero since 1962 for the same amount of money that we spent for the war on poverty.
Yeah, Reagan said it himself. We had a war on poverty. Poverty won.
Well, to the war on nouns, the violence associated with all the war on nouns has truly affected almost every person across the globe whether it be the actual violence or some sort of political reforms that were placed upon human beings, like I said, all over the world. So this war on nouns is you guys very eloquently put it. It has been a horrible plague on mankind. It's disgusting, truly.
Totally agree. All right, let's get back to it. Next category, anytime we do gun rights, I'd like to point out Dexter Taylor shouldn't be in jail for assembling legal gun parts. So go give on his Give Send Go give to Dexter Taylor. Hope he's going to get out soon. So Marcus, the category is gun rights. Is armed self-defense a fundamental right?
You don't even need armed in there. Self-defense is it's an inherent right to all of mankind. You know, you don't necessarily have to be armed to defend yourself. It helps a lot, especially as I am approaching my 27th birthday. I'm not as spry as I was when I was 18, but I will say this: I am a firm believer in 2 to the chest, and if you still got it, 1 to the head. Because self-defense, if it's you versus I'd rather it be me. I have too much to live for. I have too many people counting on me. And if self-defense, that type of situation arises, you know, it has to be biblical level violence that you need to be able to provide. You know, I would show what I'm looking at like directly in front of me, but I don't want us to get banned off YouTube since we can't comment on X. I am always ready for that smoke. So don't fuck with the kid. And libertarians believe in absolute Second Amendment principles. So vote libertarian. Thank you very much.
I agree with that. And thanks for not getting us kicked off of YouTube. And well, you got us kicked out of North Korea, so that's a wash.
Damn it.
All right, James, to you. Should states have to honor one another's concealed carry permits?
Well, yes, but on the other hand, we shouldn't have to have permits from our states to carry weapons. The Second Amendment is pretty clear: shall not be infringed. A license is definitionally an infringement. Now, I know we have to live in the real world, and I'm kind of amused here in Arizona where I live. We don't have gun laws here. You can open carry, you can concealed carry. Nobody gives a shit one way or the other. But you can get a permit if you want one. You don't need one here, but you can get one if you want one for purposes of reciprocity, which should lead people to understand that we're dealing with probably a Byzantine set of gun laws in the United States. And God help me, I rarely praise the government in any way, shape, or form, but this particular Supreme Court seems to be taking a very serious look at the Second Amendment and how it should apply, not to this issue or that issue, but to every issue. And they seem to be walking down the right road there. And I'm going to follow up on Marcus just a little bit, because I think he's absolutely right. Self-defense is a human right, but guns are the great equalizer.
Yeah.
The old, the infirm, a 90-pound woman becomes more than equal to a 250-pound male attacker if she's got a gun in her purse. And I think you can't overestimate how important that sort of thing is in a free society.
Totally agree. All right, Antony, to you. Are red flag laws worth weakening due process?
I'm sorry, I don't know what a red flag law is.
A red flag law is basically like if somebody files a protective order, you lose your guns the minute that's filed, or anything like that.
I mean, that bit on its face, that flies in the face of the Second Amendment, right? So if we're going to take the Second Amendment seriously, all of these questions that we've been discussing are off the table. I think honestly that's where we should start. Now, if we're going to start from a position of we're not going to take the Second Amendment seriously, which I don't recommend, but given that that's where we are, the question about this, what about the red flag laws and the due process? Look, if I can circumvent due process in this case, then why can't we then extend it and circumvent due process in other cases? And all of a sudden, this argument that was made underneath the umbrella of the Second Amendment starts to get extended to other rights. And before you know, we don't have due process at all. I just argue that, James makes me feel nervous with his bald head and his mean eyes. And next thing you know, they've taken his house and thrown him in jail.
You should feel nervous.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
That's right.
All right. Last 3 questions of the night. First one's to you, Marcus. The category is government spending. Is most federal spending beyond what government actually needs to do?
Well, the thing about government is it always has a need to justify its existence. And one thing I've learned, full disclosure, I work for a school district. When they get a budget, sorry, but they don't like me either. So that is a well-known fact around here. They hate me because I'm a rabble-rouser. But they get a budget, and if they don't spend that budget by a certain day in May, they lose that money for that year, and they lose their money for the following year. So they just start throwing money. Let's buy so-and-so a printer, and so-and-so has a printer 3 feet from them already, but they go and buy a $500 printer. So-and-so, instead of going 2 feet, they're going 18 inches. And that's why government does not need the money that they are stealing from us. They need to be good stewards of the money that we should be have more say in giving them. As a republic, we should not be just willy-nilly accepting the 40, as my colleagues tonight so eloquently said, the 40 to 43, 45% of our income that we're giving to the government. We're doing that like little bitches. I mean, we're not getting a reach around. We're not getting a call the next morning, a good morning text. We're not getting nothing. And people were like, well, my team, the guy I voted for, he's in office, so everything is great. And then 4 years down the line, when the other team gets in, they say it sucks. When the other team is doing the exact same damn thing that your team was doing, but they're just doing it with a rainbow or a swastika. It's neither here nor there with these people. So government by far is getting way too much money, and that's why we need people like Thomas Massie actually in office, because you saw what he did. And the only way to get people like Thomas Massie in office is to vote for libertarians and give us an honest chance. As Trump said to black people when he was asking for their vote, what do you got to lose? Vote libertarian.
The government reach around. That's the weirdest comment ever. All right, James, to you. Does Washington have a spending problem, not a revenue problem?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Ant and I have done a lot of work on this over the years. You can go find op-eds we've written on it. For every dollar the government brings in, it spends about $1.25, $1.27. I mean, that number goes up every year, of course. But the thing is we bring in more revenue year over year over year. So it's clearly not a revenue problem. Now, Ant will come along when he answers more or less the same question in a moment, and he'll probably get into this a little more than I will, but we're always at a point where we can afford the government we had 6 years ago, which means it's always a spending problem. We have politicians who have absolutely zero spending discipline, and they have zero spending discipline because of the people they represent, who demand more free shit and lower taxes simultaneously every year. Well, you can't have that. Well, yeah, you can, as long as you deficit spend and have a $40 trillion debt as a result. All of this is unconscionable. everybody involved should be deeply ashamed. And I know for a fact none of them are.
They're not the same question. That hurt a little bit, but you know, I could write the show in 4 minutes if it was the same question. I'm just messing with you, James. All right, Antony, to you. Would you cut defense spending to balance the budget?
Taxation is theft.
No, no, and here's why. Here's why. You can't. You could cut the entire Department of Defense, everything, mothball every battleship, every plane, decommission the whole thing, shut down the bases, sell off everything, and you still wouldn't save enough money to balance the budget. So do I think it's a good idea to reduce the size of the military? Yeah, maybe, but that's not going to help. The only thing that's going to help is a massive rethink of how we govern. Go back to your last question. Does government have a revenue problem or a spending problem? James is quite correct. It's a spending problem. I go a step further and say spending on what? It's not the military. The problem is 75% of the money the federal government spends is simply taking money out of one person's pocket and putting it into some other person's pocket. It's transferring money from one place to another. That's where the bulk of the government spending lies.
And it's mandatory. Let's not forget mandatory spending, Antony. And I'll go a step further, because I believe it's true this year. And if it's not, please correct me. I think we're spending more on interest on the debt than we are on the military.
I believe that's correct. Yeah, and be careful. For those of you that are going to check this number, be careful, because the government reports net interest on the debt, which is the interest that it pays minus the interest that it earns. If you look at the gross interest on the debt, which is the thing we should be looking at, yeah, I can't remember the number. I believe it's the third largest line item.
It's about $1 trillion, I believe.
Yeah, which would put it in the ballpark a little bit more than the military.
Yeah,
the military asked for, Hegseth asked for $1.5 trillion.
Yeah, he's never going to get that, because that's a doubling of what they're already going to get.
Yeah, and that's nuts. And that's not even including the Iran war. That's something completely separate, which is mind-boggling when you really think about it, because then you're approaching 1.6, 1.7, $1.8 trillion for the Pentagon in a fiscal year, which is absolutely astonishing.
It's unconscionable.
Yeah.
But don't forget, Marcus, we have to get the Strait of Hormuz open the way it was before we had this war in the first place.
Before we closed it, in effect.
That's right. All right, so Amity dared me to wear my White Sox Pope hat that we got on vacation in Chicago.
That's a pretty cool hat.
Yeah. So Amity dared me to wear it, so I did it.
If it had a Red Sox logo on it, it would be perfect.
It would be worthless. It would be absolutely worthless.
You shut
Do
your
you know where the Pope is from? Like, we have
champs.
nothing on the south side of Chicago. We have the White Sox and we have the Pope. Those are the two things we have. They closed.
Jury's still out on the Pope.
Hold on, you have some of the best marksmen in the United States on the south side of Chicago. You need to give credit where credit is due.
Some of the best ammo users. I wouldn't call them marksmen. They're really good at using ammo. Yeah. All right. I should have done this, but enter your scores in the chat. Please share this out one more time if you enjoyed this and you think people would enjoy the replay. We got a lot in the chat. Here we go. Points to anyone who can. Oh, we did that. Points to Marcus for being in third place.
Thank you.
Points to Marcus. Everybody leave everybody else the hell alone. Followed Antony on Twitter. Will it last? LOL. I think Darren's not one of us. So, but he's a great guy. I like him a lot. Points to Marcus. Points to James for the simple answer. James, the government doesn't regulate my bowel movements, but they do resemble them. You got points for that. Points to Antony. Government shouldn't make government decisions. Points to Antony for his demeanor and his well thought out answers. Damn it, James, you had to go there and be right again. Good direct chat answer. I'm gonna go 50 to Marcus just because his look is fly as fuck. That's totally incorrect. Darren, you're wrong about a lot of things, and you're wrong on that one as well. 200. Shut the fuck up. Don't kick me out of. Fix this shit.
This
Points
shit.
to Marcus.
This shit.
Shit.
Don't be messing up our words.
All right. Points to Marcus for laying out what freedom is without saying freedom. He's the real libertarian. What is going on? These are all bots. These have to be bots. Points to James for calling the public a bunch of cowards. Not afraid of the truth. Points to James. Points to Antony. Run for VP in 2028 with Lars. You are the perfect duo. Ooh, that's intriguing. That's an intriguing
I like that. I actually like that a
lot. 99 antonymity points. There we go.
Antonymity.
Yeah. 2 million points to Zoom. I'm a fan of that. Right to antonymity seems a bit nepotistic. Nepotistic. LOL, just K, anonymity. Oh my God. Chris, you killed me. Chris, yeah. I need a factory reset after this one. Anonymity is a natural right. Oh shit, it's another one.
Here we go.
I need Jesus right now. I need Jesus. Antonymity looks like a bad combo of Antony and Amity. Wait, that's my girl. What are you talking about? Marcus, the sad part of the Texas THC ban is the alcohol lobby bought that by buying Lieutenant Dan Patrick.
One of the ugliest people I've ever seen in my life.
The alcohol lobby's been behind the marijuana ban for like 60 years. So points to James. I need to get rid of this. It's hot and it's messing up my two hairs. Points to James, keep people out of prison for weed. Points to James for the benefit of shrooms. Points to James, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Rick James. Points to James, yes, alcohol is the most destructive drug. I see a lot of things with mushrooms, James, especially on Zoom. What are you taking? LOL. Liberty Shamrockers here. What's up? Points to Antony, war on nouns. Bronner's here. What's up, buddy? Sorry I'm late. Larry went way long tonight. Hope you all are well tonight. Larry's probably answering a question from a previous show, so I mean he's probably still talking about that. Points to Marcus, self-defense is an inherent right. Points to Marcus, you don't need arms to exercise your right to bear arms.
You don't.
Oh, Rob, you're killing me. Points to Marcus, one to the dome. You can't put puns in these like late into the show. I can barely read to start tonight. Points to Marcus, self-defense is a right. Bad math to Marcus. We might be white, but we're not dumb. But 200 for the nice Liberty ramblings. Points to James. We don't need a permit. Shall not be infringed. Points to James. No permits. Points to Marcus. Points to James. Shall not be infringed. Andrea's here. What's up, Andrea? Points to Antony. He should be on the Supreme Court. Ooh, you got promoted in the last like 5 comments. Points to Antony for making fun of James. Points to Antony for throwing shade at James. Points to Antony. Precedent is a cancer. Points to Antony for due process. Points to James for making Antony nervous. Points to Marcus. The government needs to justify its existence. Oh, the reach around. My God. Points to Marcus for the good steward comment. Points to Marcus. Government should be good stewards of our money. Points to Marky Dark and the black market points. No reach arounds. Face being make me happy, damn it. Points to Marcus. Oh, D's here. What's up, D? Awesome VA. If you need a VA, check out D. 500 or whatever I can give to Marcus for his reach around comment. Points to James. It's not a revenue problem. Points to James. Government has a spending problem. Points to the first person to say taxation is theft and end the Fed.
I already did.
You
that.
already said that taxation is theft. Yeah.
All right. Points to James for the taxation is theft.
There goes your proof.
Points to Antony. We need a massive rethink of how we govern. Points to Antony for transfer of wealth. Points to Antony for total understanding of debt and taxation. Minus 50 for not ending the Fed. 200 each to Ant and James for a nice finish. Points to Marcus for being the only real gangster. I don't know what it is. It's not libertarian. It'll come to me. Points to Marcus. Oh, what is going on? All right, let's check the scoreboard one last time. See who won here. And James with the win. 12,410.
Wow.
Marcus just behind,
A
12,325.
razor thin margin.
And
Razor thin.
the honorable Vice President Antony just behind, 12,309. And the dog from last week still just at 200.
Doesn't the dog want to throw his support to me?
Yeah, that would have probably helped. So Andy, you came in third place. First time on the show. What'd you think?
Oh, this was great. I had a great time. I want to come back. But not with
awesome.
James.
Plug what you're doing and tell us where you can buy the book and everything.
Well, James and I are on the podcast Words and Numbers. We come out every week. We've got something like 500 episodes in the bank. We have our book you can find on Amazon, Cooperation and Coercion, How Busybodies Became Busy Bullies and What That Means for Economics and Politics.
Yeah, let me pull that up here. And you can find Antony on X, Anton Davies, and the book is Cooperation and Coercion. That's on there as well. And wordsandnumbers.org to probably find all that, plus their excellent podcast, which I love. Appreciate you doing this. Marcus was second place. What do you think, Marcus?
I just want to give a shout out to my tonight's, well, I call them my colleagues, but growing up, I was a weird kid that just loved to watch PBS for the documentaries, and I felt like I've seen both of you guys in a previous documentary somewhere along the lines, because it was just like intellectuals. I was like, okay, Marcus, you're a dumbass. You're going to have to step it up a little bit tonight. And I want to thank both of them because I didn't mind losing. I say that out loud, but deep in my heart, I did mind losing. But I didn't mind the competition tonight because if you're going to compete, you want to compete against some of the best. And these two dudes, Antony and James, they're some of the best out there. They're great minds, and that's just what I picked up from tonight. Going forward, you can catch the Black Powder podcast Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern time, or as I like to call it, the weirdo time. We have Jeff Wadlin from the great state of Arkansas running for the Senate next week. This is one of those guys that we need to put forward as libertarians. We had Jessica Etheridge last night. She's one of those people we need to put forward as libertarians because they're normal people and they present a great message. So that's where we're at. Shout out to all my co-hosts, Free, Amity, Rob Yates, Eric, Parker, and Tubb, the Libertarian Wu-Tang Caucus, Liberty Forever. Thank you very much for tonight, Free. I really appreciate that, brother.
Awesome, man. And like Marcus said, Black Powder Podcast, Thursdays, 9 p.m., the real time Eastern. And check him out on X at Black Powder Pod. And I give Marcus all sorts of crap, but we're really, really great friends. I respect the hell out of him. I just love giving him the business all the time. And it's especially fun when other people are laughing with me. So, but the big winner of the night is James. What do you think, man?
I had a great time, and thank you for the kind words, Marcus, and I'll shoot them right back to you. It was my pleasure and my honor hanging out with you tonight, so hopefully we can do that again in some way, shape, or form one of these days. But I would be back for this 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This was a great time.
That's a huge compliment. And once again, you can find their book, Cooperation and Coercion, and go follow him on X, James R. Harrigan. We had a couple typos tonight. Harrigan. Sorry, my bad. So James R. Harrigan on X, and Words and Numbers podcast. Check out wordsandnumbers.org. Appreciate you all so much. And let's add Terry back. What do you think, Terry?
Oh, what a great night. Everybody did a really good job. Sorry, chat, that I couldn't communicate with you tonight, but X wouldn't let me. Stupid old X. So I think that we're going to get a lot of great shorts out of this, and we will continue to be able to help people to open up their minds and let their liberty shine. And you guys were awesome. I will enjoy putting those out. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And one last time, thanks again to our sponsor, Xano. Your privacy matters. Choose Xano, the leading blockchain platform that prioritizes confidentiality and security. And if you're new to privacy coins and you're into freedom, check out intro.xano.org. Thanks again to Zoom, Beyond Shrooms, and Plur, Beyond Molly. The website is zoomtrip.com, xumtrip.com. Thanks to all of our subscribers. You make this happen. We traveled a bunch. We've been doing a ton of stuff. We appreciate y'all. You can subscribe to us on X. And if you want to sponsor us, email studio@freedomuncut.com. And one last shout out to our friends at antiwar.com. They're the real deal. Independent news, critical analysis, anti-war perspectives, fighting the war propaganda and giving you the real news. If you want to donate to them during their fundraising drive, go to antiwar.com. And thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys make the show so much fun. Appreciate y'all. We'll be back next Friday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you.